Look at this diagram. At its center is a stark proposition. Artificial intelligence is an offer made by the devil to the mind. It is incredibly easy to look at a concept like this and dismiss it as cultural panic. We frequently imagine the threat of AI through highly stylized, theological anxieties, visions of demonic entities coming to claim our souls. But strip away the fantasy and return to the academic framework. The threat outlined here is grounded in the mathematics of machine learning and the neurobiology of human cognition. We are currently living through a profound paradox. We eagerly outsource our intellectual labor to algorithms, treating them as seamless extensions of our intelligence, while trading away the very mental effort required to maintain our cognitive baseline. By deconstructing this exact exchange, from the autoregressive equation calculating the output at the top to the psychological transaction happening at the bottom, we can trace why a frictionless mind becomes a hollowed one. The diagram serves as a precise map of our own voluntary intellectual dispossession. To understand the machine, look at the mathematical notation above it. This equation defines autoregressive language models. It calculates the probability of the next word, W sub t, based on all preceding words. Finally, the softmax function converts these predictions into a strict probability distribution. This establishes a hard philosophical boundary. The system flawlessly replicates structural patterns of human language without underlying comprehension. When completing a thought, it isn't reasoning. It simply selects the next token through statistical proximity based on its training data. The machine feels marvelous because it delivers unparalleled convenience, entirely bypassing the semantic struggle required for a human to actually understand what is spoken. The exact phrasing in this diagram, the devil offering a machine in exchange for the soul, was not actually written about artificial intelligence. The warning is decades older. In 2002, the eminent mathematician Sir Michael Atiyah warned his peers about a very specific Faustian organ occurring within the discipline of mathematics itself. Atiyah contrasted two branches of math. Geometry requires a visual, intuitive struggle with physical realities. Algebra is the devil's offer, a blind machine delivering instant answers, eliminating the need to think about meaning. Generative AI is this algebraic temptation, hyper-accelerated. The algorithm eagerly provides the final, polished product of thought. But it completely severs the user from the internal cognitive labor, the geometry of the mind, that produces true, resilient comprehension. Returning to the core diagram, look at the circular arrows executing this transaction at the bottom. The offer is convenience. The price is the struggle. We take this deal because we are biologically wired to do so. Our brains operate on the principle of least effort, a concept modern researchers call existential ergonomics. Sustained concentration, uncertainty, and active consciousness are metabolically and emotionally expensive states. When a machine offers instant relief, the temptation is overwhelming. But decades of behavioral economics reveals the hidden cost of this relief. Consider the well-documented IKEA effect. Humans consistently assign a drastically higher subjective value to objects or outcomes they had to actively struggle to assemble, compared to identical items handed to them complete. We evaluate the worth and meaning of our work and our connections with others based almost entirely on the perceived activation energy and friction required to produce it. Optimal human experience relies on flow states, periods of deep engagement requiring a delicate balance of high skill and high challenge. The AI environment, by design, eliminates that challenge. By removing the intellectual resistance required to execute a task, the technology thrusts the user straight out of a flow state and directly into apathy. The friction of formulating a thought isn't an obstacle to be optimized away. It is the exact psychological mechanism human beings require to create meaning and value in the first place. This brings us to the precise cost demanded in the diagram. Give up the struggle. When users accept this, they fall into the sovereignty trap. We mistake our frictionless access to the AI's answers for our own personal ability, systematically circumventing the effortful mental processing required to actually learn. We have a biological parallel for this outsourcing. Neuroimaging studies on chronic GPS over-reliance demonstrate it directly correlates with reduced hippocampal engagement. The user successfully reaches their destination, but that flawless task completion masks the progressive erosion of their underlying cognitive architecture. The philosopher Bernard Stiegler expanded this critique, characterizing this localized cognitive decay as a systemic societal crisis. Stiegler identified our current technological era as the third wave of proletarinization. Because we are externalizing our judgment and critical thought into machines, we are experiencing a mass loss of the ability to theorize and conceptualize for ourselves. Stripped of cognitive friction, we are actively dispossessed of our own mental faculties. We stop being the creators of our ideas and become nothing more than passive spectators of our outsourced intelligence. Look at the complete diagram one final time. We do not have to accept this as an inevitable prophecy. The soul depicted here isn't a mystical entity hovering in the ether. It is the biological process of human meaning-making. The devil's true offer is simply an illusion, the false promise that you can possess the rich, complex product of thought without ever undergoing the arduous process required to forge it. To survive this technological shift, we must reject the passive consumption of algorithmic output. We must evaluate these tools through what researchers call an epistemology of contribution. We must stop treating AI as a passive instrument and instead force it into an iterative loop of our own design. This cultivates a fortified mind, where the user intentionally dictates the workflow and maintains ultimate intellectual authority. In practice, this means actively injecting friction back into your process. Instead of asking a language model to write an essay, write the thesis yourself and use the machine strictly to critically interrogate your logic. Cognitive struggle functions as the essential engine of human intelligence. To safely govern artificial intelligence, we must maintain our cognitive sovereignty, and the only way to truly achieve that is to absolutely refuse to surrender the friction that makes us human.